The wedding hall shimmered under soft golden lights, its crystal chandeliers catching every flicker of movement like watchful eyes. Guests whispered through painted smiles, admiring the floral arches, the ice sculptures, the expensive string quartet playing in the corner. Everything about the ceremony screamed perfection, except the uneasy tension winding through Marcus Bennett's chest as he stood at the altar. He tugged at his tie, glancing toward the entrance again. He shouldn't have been nervous. This was supposed to be the happiest moment of his life. His bride-to-be, Vanessa Hartley, stood beside him in a gown that sparkled like fresh snow, wearing a smile crafted with the precision of a seasoned actress. She reached for his hand, her grip tight, almost possessive. "Relax," she whispered. "Everything is going exactly as planned." Marcus nodded but didn't answer. Because something inside him, something small, nagging and painful, kept clawing at him, a fear, a doubt, a question he had pushed aside for months. Where's Isaiah? His 12-year-old son should have been there. Marcus had called him, texted him, invited him weeks ago, but the boy hadn't replied. Ever since Marcus had announced he was remarrying, Isaiah had grown distant, silent, withdrawn. Marcus hadn't understood why, not fully. Divorce had been hard, and maybe he hadn't spent enough time reassuring Isaiah. Maybe he hadn't explained things well enough. Maybe, just maybe, the boy felt replaced. Marcus swallowed hard again. "He should be here," he murmured under his breath. Vanessa's smile tightened. "He'll show up if he wants to. Don't let this ruin our moment." But it wasn't their moment, not fully, not without his son. The officiant opened his book. "Ladies and gentlemen, we gather today." The doors at the back of the hall slammed open. Every head snapped around. A small figure stood in the doorway, chest heaving, suit jacket wrinkled, hair damp with sweat. Isaiah. His backpack hung off one shoulder, and his eyes, wide, furious, terrified, were locked on his father. And then he screamed, "Dad, don't marry her!" A gasp rippled across the hall. The violinist dropped her bow. A woman in the front row clutched her pearls. Vanessa froze, her face draining of color. Isaiah didn't stop. He sprinted down the aisle, dodging shocked guests, knocking over a basket of rose petals. His voice cracked with urgency. "Dad, please, you can't marry her. You don't know what she did." Marcus felt the world tilt sideways. "Isaiah, what are you talking about? Stop, calm down." But the boy shook his head violently. "No, I tried to tell you before. You didn't listen. Nobody listened." Vanessa stepped forward, controlling her expression with visible effort. "Marcus, he's overwhelmed. He's confused." "No, I'm not," Isaiah screamed before she could finish. His eyes flooded with desperate tears. "She's lying to you. She hurt someone. She hurt someone really bad." The room buzzed with whispers. Cameras came out, phones lifted. Suddenly this wasn't just a wedding, it was a spectacle. Marcus moved toward his son, kneeling. "Isaiah, shh. What is this? You need to breathe." But Isaiah grabbed his father's wrist with trembling fingers. "Dad, she's dangerous." Vanessa's jaw clenched. "Marcus, take him outside. This is ridiculous." Then Isaiah said the sentence that turned the entire wedding to stone. "She tried to kill someone, and I have proof." Silence. Utter, suffocating silence. Marcus felt a chill spread down his spine. "What did you just say?" Isaiah reached into his backpack with shaking hands. Guests leaned in. Vanessa took a step back, her breathing suddenly sharp, shallow. The boy pulled out a small flash drive, black, scratched, and taped together like it had been hidden for a long time. "I found this," he whispered. "In her office. It has everything. Videos, messages, plans, Dad. She's not who you think she is." Vanessa's eyes widened in horror. "Marcus, don't listen to him. He probably found some random file and misunderstood." Isaiah whirled on her with a glare too fierce for a child. "Tell them about the man in the parking garage. Tell them what you did." A gasp shot through the guests like a shockwave. Marcus stared at Vanessa. "What is he talking about?" Vanessa opened her mouth, but no words came out. She looked around, at the guests, the cameras, the phones, and for the first time, her flawless confidence cracked. Isaiah tugged Marcus's arm. "Dad, if you plug this in, you'll see. Please, don't marry her. She's dangerous." Marcus didn't know how long he stood there, torn between confusion and dread. His heart pounded like a drum inside his chest, but then he looked at his son, really looked, at the fear, the sincerity, the tremble in his voice that no child could fake. And Marcus made a choice. He turned to the groomsman holding his phone. Call 911. A thunderous gasp erupted through the hall. Vanessa stumbled backward. Marcus, no. But Marcus stepped between her and Isaiah, shielding his son. His voice came out cold, steady, unrecognizable. We're not continuing this wedding, not until the police see whatever is on that drive. Isaiah's chin quivered with relief. Vanessa's eyes darkened. And the wedding, once perfect, now pulsed with the promise of secrets ready to explode. The wedding hall descended into chaos the moment Marcus ordered someone to call 911. Guests whispered in frantic clusters. Some recorded. Some backed away from Vanessa as though she carried a disease. Others stared at Isaiah, small, frightened, but standing his ground with the stubbornness of a warrior. Vanessa's breathing grew sharper, more erratic. Marcus, please, listen to me. He's a child. He doesn't understand what he found. But Marcus wasn't listening. Not anymore. He still held Isaiah's trembling hand, and for the first time in months his son didn't pull away. That alone told him something was terribly, terribly wrong. Come with me, Marcus said, guiding Isaiah toward a side room off the hall. The wedding coordinator tried to block them, stammering about order and reputation, but one look from Marcus made her step aside instantly. Inside the small private lounge, quiet, dimly lit, and insulated from the murmuring chaos outside, Marcus shut the door behind them. The sounds of the disrupted ceremony faded into a muffled hum. Isaiah, he said, kneeling to meet his son's eyes, I need you to tell me everything. From the beginning. Isaiah swallowed hard. His hands shook as he clutched the flash drive. Dad, I didn't mean to ruin your wedding, I swear, but I couldn't let you marry her. I couldn't let her hurt you too. Marcus's blood ran cold. What do you mean, too? Isaiah hesitated, then took a deep breath that made his entire chest tremble. I found the drive last month, in her office. She left her computer unlocked, and there was a folder labeled Clients. I clicked it because I thought it was her work stuff, but... His voice cracked. But it wasn't work stuff. It was videos, messages, from a man begging for help. Marcus felt his heartbeat hammering in his ears. What kind of videos? Isaiah shook his head as if trying to erase the memories. He was in a parking garage, hurt, bleeding, and she was there. She didn't help him, Dad. She walked away. Marcus's stomach twisted. How do you know it was her? Isaiah pointed to the drive. The video shows her face, her voice, and her saying something like, no witnesses. Marcus felt the air leave his lungs. No witnesses. Those two words felt like a punch to the ribs. Isaiah, Marcus whispered. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I tried, Isaiah burst out. I called you. I texted you. I told you I needed to talk. But she always answered your phone or told me you were busy. She told me to stop being dramatic. Marcus clenched his jaw. Vanessa had indeed started answering his phone as a way of helping. He had seen it as attentiveness. Now he saw it for what it was, control. How did you get the drive? Marcus asked quietly. Isaiah looked down. I stole it. I hid it in my room. But yesterday, I think she noticed it was missing. She came to the house when you weren't home. I heard her searching. She was angry, Dad. Really angry. Marcus felt a cold sweat break across his skin. Did she touch you? Did she hurt you? Isaiah quickly shook his head. No. She didn't see me. I climbed out the window and ran to Grandma's. I slept there. And today, when I heard she was already here for the wedding, I knew I had to stop it before she hurt you too. Marcus wrapped his arms around his son, pulling him close. Isaiah shook silently in his father's embrace. A soft knock broke the moment. Marcus? A voice called from behind the door. Not Vanessa. A friend. The police are here. They want to speak with you. Isaiah stiffened. Dad, you have to show them. They have to know. Marcus stood slowly, gripping the flash drive. His fingers trembled, not from fear, but rage, betrayal. What had he brought into their lives? What had he almost married? He opened the door. 2 officers waited in the hallway, flanked by more wedding guests craning their necks to see. Vanessa stood at a distance, pale as chalk, her hands clasped like she was praying, for mercy or for escape. One officer stepped forward. Sir, we received a call about an alleged threat involving digital evidence. Can you explain what's happening? Before Marcus could answer, Vanessa rushed forward. This is insane, she cried. This child is making up stories. He's jealous. He doesn't want his father to move on. The officer lifted a hand. Ma'am, please stay back. Stay back, she spat. This is my wedding. Marcus stepped between her and Isaiah. Not anymore. Vanessa froze, rage slowly distorting her face. Marcus turned to the officers. My son says this flash drive contains evidence of a crime, a serious crime. I want you to take custody of it. Vanessa lunged suddenly. No! The police officers grabbed her arms before she could reach the drive. Her mask of elegance and charm shattered completely as she thrashed, screaming, That drive is nothing! You don't know what you're doing! Let me go! She fought like a wild animal. Guests gasped. Someone screamed. Someone else recorded. But above all the noise, one sound cut through, Isaiah's small, shaking voice. Dad, she's dangerous. Don't let her near us. Marcus tightened his grip on the flash drive. I won't, he promised. The officers escorted Vanessa out of the hallway as she continued to scream accusations, threats, and denials. It took 3 people to drag her away. When she was finally out of sight, Marcus knelt again in front of Isaiah. You were brave today, he whispered. Braver than I've ever been. And whatever happens next, we face it together. Isaiah nodded, tears falling freely now. For the first time, father and son stood united. And out in the hall, the police began opening the flash drive, their faces hardening as the horrifying videos came to life. This wedding wasn't ruined. It was saved. The conference room the police had commandeered inside the wedding venue was small, clinical, and painfully bright, an unforgiving stage for the darkest truth Marcus had ever seen. The officers connected the flash drive to a laptop, their expressions neutral but alert. Marcus stood behind them with Isaiah at his side, the boy gripping his father's sleeve so tightly the fabric wrinkled. Sir, one of the officers said, we're going to play the files your son mentioned. We'll warn you, if this is genuine, it might be disturbing. Marcus nodded stiffly. Play it. Isaiah swallowed. Dad, it's worse than you think. The officer clicked open the first video. A grainy recording flickered to life. The angle was low, as if the phone had been dropped on the ground. The scene showed the inside of a dim parking garage. A man, mid-40s, bloodied, clutching his side, crawled toward the camera, his breathing ragged and desperate. Help! The man gasped. Somebody, please. Marcus felt the air drain from his chest. The man looked terrified. Seconds later, footsteps echoed. High heels, measured, cold. And then she walked into the frame. Vanessa, his fiancée, the woman he had planned to promise forever. Marcus felt Isaiah grip him harder as Vanessa knelt beside the injured man. Her voice, smooth, steady, carried perfectly through the speakers. I told you not to interfere, she said quietly. The man coughed, struggling to lift himself. You didn't say they were going to... Vanessa pressed a hand against his shoulder, forcing him back down. And you didn't listen, she whispered. The injured man tried again. Please, please, just call for help. Vanessa leaned forward until her face was inches from the camera. No witnesses, she said, and then she stood, glanced around, and walked away, calm, unaffected, as if she were leaving a board meeting instead of a dying man. The screen froze. The room felt like it had stopped breathing. Isaiah shook violently beside Marcus, and Marcus lifted his arm around his son's shoulders without looking away from the video. One officer exhaled slowly. We need to run this through our system, but based on the footage alone, this appears extremely serious. Marcus turned to Isaiah. You weren't exaggerating, he whispered. You weren't mistaken. Isaiah looked up, fearful, hopeful, guilty all at once. I didn't want to believe it either, but after I saw that, I knew I had to stop you. Marcus knelt, cupping the boy's face. You saved my life today. Isaiah's eyes filled. I just didn't want her to hurt you. Another officer cleared his throat. Sir, this is only one file. There are more. Isaiah nodded, lifting his trembling finger and pointing at the folder. There's one with a message. From the man. Marcus stiffened. Play it. The officer opened the second video. This time, the injured man looked weaker, recorded earlier, judging by the timestamp. He sat on the ground, propped against a concrete pillar. His hands shook as he held the phone toward his face. My name is David Mercer, he whispered. If anyone finds this, Vanessa Hartley is involved in something bad, something that's hurting people. I tried to expose it, but she... He winced, coughing hard enough to smear blood on the lens. I'm not sure how long I have. If you're watching this, don't trust her. She's not who she pretends to be. The video cut off. Marcus closed his eyes for a long, slow moment. He felt sick. He felt betrayed. He felt furious at himself for letting Vanessa anywhere near his son. The officer closed the laptop. This matches elements of an open investigation involving organized fraud, blackmail, and at least one suspicious disappearance. Marcus's voice came out rough. Disappearance? The officer nodded grimly. A man reported missing 3 months ago. The name, David Mercer. Isaiah gasped. The man in the video, he's missing? The officer nodded. We need to treat this as evidence in a felony case. We've detained Miss Hartley, but she's not cooperating. She's demanding a lawyer. Marcus rubbed his face with shaking hands. I should have seen it. I should have known something was off. No, Dad, Isaiah whispered. She was good at pretending. The door burst open suddenly. A different officer stepped in, looking urgent. We've got a problem. Marcus turned sharply. What problem? Vanessa Hartley just tried to escape custody. Isaiah froze. What? Marcus barked. She faked a panic attack, the officer explained. When medics came to check on her, she bolted. She's somewhere in the building. A chill crept down Marcus's spine. Isaiah clung to him. Dad. Marcus wrapped an arm protectively around his son. Where is she now? We're locking down the building, the officer said, already speaking into his radio. But she's fast and she knows the layout. We don't know her intentions. Marcus stood tall, shielding Isaiah with his body. He didn't have to say the fear out loud. They all knew, if Vanessa was willing to walk away from a dying man, if she was willing to silence a witness, what would she do now that her entire secret life was collapsing around her? And worst of all, what would she do to the boy who exposed her? Isaiah's voice quivered as he whispered, Dad, she's coming. The moment the officer announced Vanessa had escaped, the entire wedding venue transformed from a celebration hall into a battleground. Doors slammed. Radios crackled. Guests screamed as officers rushed through aisles and hallways, shouting orders and coordinating a search. But Marcus heard none of it clearly. All he heard was his son's trembling breath beside him, and the echoing certainty in Isaiah's voice. Dad, she's coming. Marcus tightened his grip around him. I've got you. I won't let her touch you. The officers guided them out of the small conference room and into a staff hallway behind the kitchen. The lights flickered, the kind of flicker that made every shadow feel like a warning. Stay close to us, one officer instructed. She can't get far, but Marcus knew Vanessa, knew her charm, her intelligence, her unsettling calm. If she had already fooled him for months, outsmarted co-workers, and walked away from a dying man without fear, she could be anywhere, and she would not go down quietly. They moved toward a secured office where the police wanted to keep Marcus and Isaiah temporarily. The hallway seemed endless, lined with storage closets and electrical rooms. The faint hum of the venue's cooling system was the only steady sound, until... clink. Something metal hit the floor behind them. Isaiah froze. Marcus spun around, a silver hairpin, Vanessa's. Isaiah whispered, Dad, keep moving, Marcus urged, pushing him forward. The officer radioed backup. We found a personal effect. She's near... They reached the last door on the left, the security office. One officer swiped a keycard. Inside. Both of you. Marcus nudged Isaiah through the doorway, but as he stepped in behind him, a shadow moved, a blur, a flash of white satin. Vanessa slipped out from behind a tall metal cabinet with the silence of a predator. Her bridal gown was torn, smeared with dust. Her hair, once perfectly styled, hung in loose, wild strands. Her makeup streaked down her cheeks like dripping ink. But her eyes burned with cold determination. Before the officers could react, she lunged for Marcus, a sharp object glinting in her hand. Isaiah screamed, Dad! Marcus shoved Isaiah aside and twisted his body, grabbing Vanessa's wrist mid-strike. The two collided hard against the wall. The sharp object clattered to the floor, a broken piece of glass. Let go of me, she shrieked, thrashing. You ruined everything, both of you. The officers rushed forward, but Vanessa fought with a strength born of pure desperation. She kicked, clawed, and tried to break free from Marcus's grip. You think I'm going to prison because of a child? She spat, venom dripping from every word. You think anyone will believe a scared little boy over me? Isaiah dashed to the corner of the room, trembling but watching with wide, terrified eyes. Marcus pinned Vanessa's wrists, forcing her hands against the wall. It's over, Vanessa. The evidence is enough. The police saw it. Her lips curled into an unhinged smile. Evidence can disappear. Drives can go missing. Witnesses can vanish. Isaiah's breath hitched. The officers finally grabbed her arms, pulling her away from Marcus. Vanessa twisted violently. "No, you don't understand," she screamed. "That boy destroyed everything. He stole from me. He interfered with my work." She lunged toward Isaiah, but the officers yanked her back. Her voice rose to a hysterical pitch. "He ruined my life. He ruined—" A taser snapped. Her body jerked, then collapsed. Silence swallowed the room. Isaiah stared, shaking uncontrollably as the officers secured Vanessa in handcuffs. One read her rights in a firm, calm voice as they lifted her off the ground. The last thing she said before they dragged her away was not a scream, but a whisper. "One day, Marcus, you'll regret choosing him." Marcus felt rage boil inside him. He stepped between her and Isaiah, shielding his son one last time. "I will never regret protecting my child," he said, voice like steel. Isaiah ran to him, burying his face in Marcus's chest. Marcus wrapped his arms around him, holding him tight, so tight he could feel the boy's heartbeat against his own. "We're safe," Marcus whispered. "It's okay. It's over." But Isaiah shook his head. "Dad, what if she gets out? What if—" "She won't," Marcus said, voice cracking with emotion. "Not this time. Not with everything she's done." The officers escorted Vanessa out of the venue, her screams echoing down the hallway. Guests watched in stunned silence as the bride, once admired, envied, adored, was carried out in handcuffs like a criminal caught in the act. Paramedics checked Isaiah. Police took statements. The wedding planner fainted. Someone unplugged the floral arches. But Marcus didn't care about any of that. He sat with Isaiah in his lap, the boy wrapped in a blanket, trembling from the adrenaline and raw fear that had taken over his small body. "Dad," Isaiah whispered weakly, "I'm sorry I ruined your wedding." Marcus looked at him with eyes full of tears he didn't bother to hide. "You didn't ruin anything," he said softly. "You saved me. You saved us. If you hadn't come today, I might have married a murderer." Isaiah blinked, tears spilling down his cheeks. "And you stood up, alone, scared. But you still fought to tell me the truth. That's bravery, son. Real bravery." Isaiah melted into his father's arms. For the first time in a long time, Marcus felt whole, not because of a woman, not because of a wedding, but because he realized the one person who had never left him was the person he had taken for granted, his son. Outside, the flashing police lights painted the venue in alternating shades of red and blue. Vanessa's screams faded as the patrol car doors slammed shut. Isaiah looked up. "Dad, can we go home?" Marcus kissed the top of his head. "Absolutely." And as they walked out into the cool evening air, father and son, hand in hand, Marcus knew one truth with absolute clarity: some weddings end in heartbreak. But this one ended in justice, and in the bond of a father who finally heard his son's voice, and a son who had the courage to speak when no one else